You know, I think I kind of made a good decision to not be at home watching the game today. Maybe it was a good decision to not rep the Canucks today either. I've got my Red Wings hoodie on, so that is the fit for today's out-of-town vacay day. But man, I don't know if this video is going to be too long. You know, I can talk about the Vancouver Canucks for days, for hours and hours. I can go on and on and on about this team. I can talk about individual plays. I can talk about goals. I can talk about amazing things that happen. But when we watch a game like this, Vancouver versus Edmonton, what I'm going to call Game 8 of the 2024 campaign here, Vancouver versus Edmonton was a total colossal failure from the perspective of the Vancouver Canucks because they had themselves an opportunity to get in it. They had multiple chances to potentially take control, and they even had the Oilers on the ropes at some points in the game. This was exemplified by their quick 2-goal spark to bounce a comeback, how the Oilers needed to take a timeout to slow down Vancouver's momentum, only for Vancouver in the third period to totally let off the gas pedal. And for Kevin Lankinen, Lank the Tank as we had dubbed him earlier in today's show, to unfortunately have himself a performance that I think we can all agree was bad. Now, it wasn't all bad. There were some really good saves that Lankinen had to make, and I don't want to say that each of the 7 goals that were scored against him tonight were all his fault. But there were some moments throughout the game where while Lankinen was making those saves, it kind of shriveled up inside a little bit saying, okay, thank goodness he made that save. I wonder how many of those he has in him. Spoiler alert, Lankinen made some great saves today. But in the third period, there was a moment where you could feel the switch click off, where everything started to collapse for him in front. The Canucks defense were letting him down. He was letting in some weak shots, and eventually he got pulled. Artur Shilovs came into game action. He didn't let in any goals, Shilovs did, so good on him. But this was a game where I think the Vancouver Canucks fell victim to what it is the Edmonton Oilers are capable of. And I don't want to make it seem like it was entirely their fault. I do have a bit of an issue with the refereeing, partially because, of course, the Oilers had a lot more man advantages than Vancouver in this game, but there were some moments where Vancouver could have had a power play or two, and the ref said, no, Quinn Hughes getting tripped, no call on that. It's very egregious, some of the penalties that Vancouver ended up taking in this one from a refereeing point of view, that the power plays being so skewed as they were and seeing Edmonton capitalize on them as they did was certainly not ideal for a Vancouver Canucks squad trying to get back on the right foot after a very positive California sweep road trip. Other notes, there were some really strange sort of lineup decisions with this game. The Canucks rolled with 7D and 11 forwards. Part of me thinks that maybe the Dakota Joshua timeline recovery messed up with the Canucks and their plans in this one. I'm not too sure if it was Rick Tocchet's ideal preference to have 11 forwards and 7D. With the trade of Daniel Sprong earlier yesterday, we saw an extra spot in the lineup open for a forward. Nils Åman entered the lineup for today's game. Aatu Räty was still there. Arshdeep Bains, I think, got recalled earlier today. Something like that, too. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But on defense, the Canucks had Hughes Hronek, they had Susie Myers, they had Desharnais, Juleson, and then they also had Brannstrom suiting up too. And you saw those bottom 3 guys kind of rotating around on their own pairing. Susie Myers was pretty consistently paired together, and then Hronek Hughes, same thing. Let's talk about the goals. So the first goal of the game scored by Edmonton, technically not on the power play, but it was at the end of a really long power play. It's Leon Draisaitl on the back door. Kevin Lankinen is forced to make some stops, and Draisaitl is able to get the puck right behind the goal line. He ends up pulling it forward across the goal line and then up into the open cage. That is the 1-0 marker for Edmonton. Canucks did a pretty good job hanging on, although they did need to make Lankinen work a little bit to keep the puck out of the net. But eventually, after it was 1-0, it became 2-0 shortly after. And this happened in, I believe it was the second period. I need to review my game notes just so we can be clear on that. Can I see that real quick here? Okay, yes, it was exactly that. It was at the beginning of the second period. Erik Brannstrom tries to clear the puck out of the Canucks zone. It hits the stanchion, and everything falls apart. because Lindstrom was clearing the puck out, a few of the the Canucks forecheckers were trying to exit the zone to pick up the puck in the neutral zone, but the puck hit the stanchion, it deflected over to the Oilers guys. Eventually, it was a tic-tac-toe with a very clear chance at the net. Noah Juleson was the last guy back, Lindstrom out of position. It's a pass backdoor for Corey Perry, 2-0. A few minutes later, a very quick few minutes later, you had yourselves Quinn Hughes trying to break into the Oilers zone. He tries a drop pass to Miller that does not work. It's totally out of nowhere. It got everybody confused, and the Oilers quickly pick it up, send it back the other way. Draisaitl comes across the Canucks blue line, slows up, throws it over to Viktor Arvidsson, who's charging down the middle with speed. He cuts across, comes in, shoots, and scores. The speed and the momentum of Arvidsson before the shot kind of threw off Lankinen. 3-0 Edmonton in the early stages of this second period. Then you had yourselves Vancouver start to come alive. This is when we started to see the team show that they have some life. And it all got started with a beautiful goal by Elias Pettersson. Jake DeBrusk is at the point, capitalizing on the Oilers trying to clear the puck out of their zone. He throws one towards the front of the net, and Petey is right there to tip it. It's like airborne, maybe like a foot or two below the crossbar, and Petey smacks it down. It was 5-hole on Stu Skinner. Beautiful goal for EP. He kind of needed it. Like, after the goal that went in against the Anaheim Ducks that I thought was a little bit kind of suspicious, we needed to see Elias Pettersson score himself a beautiful goal, like a real goal, and you saw from his face afterwards, he looked happy to have scored that one. 3-1 Oilers. Then it quickly became 3-2 because Vancouver got on the board once again. I am trying to recall what in the world was the goal that they scored. Who even scored it? I'm not too sure. Okay, yeah, I had to check my notes again. That's how forgettable this game was. It was Filip Hronek. Beautiful play by Blueger and Heinen, capitalizing on the Oilers trying to send the puck out themselves. It's picked up by Blueger, who goes over across to Heinen, who instead of taking the shot right away, drags it and throws it back into the middle for Filip Hronek, who chucks it short side. Beautiful goal to beat Stuart Skinner. 3-2. So the Oilers get 2 quick ones scored against them in short order. The Oilers then took themselves a timeout, so you can tell that the Canucks rattled them a little bit with those 2 quick goals. But I guess the timeout was really effective because by the end of the second period, it was still 3-2. And then in the third, that's when things completely fell apart. The Oilers scored 3 goals in 1:38, and then they added a 4th one in the third period as well. Kevin Lankinen got pulled, and you know, we can talk about those goals. We can talk about those chances. Some of them were on the power play, backdoor passes. Others were on the rush. Lankinen just not making the stops that he needs to. I think in a game like that, where you have such a good chance at coming back based off of your play in the first 40 minutes, only to let it fully leave your fingertips in the third period, that is like the most demoralizing game possible. And you could definitely tell, in the midst of scoring 3 goals in 1:30, the Vancouver Canucks just totally let the Oilers take it to them. And all the pressure was for Edmonton. They weren't really responding well. The Canucks weren't. And that's all she wrote. So very unfortunate, very unlucky post-game video to go out there and talk about here. The Canucks did add themselves another goal. Power play marker by Pius Suter. Beautiful assist by Elias Pettersson. So Pettersson had a goal and an assist in this one, which obviously is a lot better than what we had seen out of him in prior games, production-wise. But still, this game was not a good one for the Vancouver point of view. And I think, ultimately, you just gotta have that short-term memory. Flush this one down the toilet. Don't even think about it, because games like these, you know, you can look and say, oh, wow, look at that. The Oilers beat Vancouver 7-3. It was 7-2 at one point. Vancouver sucks. Like, everyone knows the Canucks don't really suck. They just stopped playing proper hockey for maybe 5 minutes in the third period, and they totally let the game get away from them. Also, the penalties didn't help. Like, come on. Some of those calls don't really need to be called, in my opinion, from the refereeing point of view. So, very odd game, very unfortunate game. We'll see what the Canucks are able to do later in the week, hopefully when Dakota Joshua is back, and hopefully when they're not rotating with 7 defensemen and 11 forwards. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks versus the Edmonton Oilers. I personally was cheering super hard for Darnell Nurse to get some points because he is on my fantasy team, and I really need some extra power play points and assists to win this week's matchup. I got a lot of hits from Kiefer Sherwood, so that was great. I am dominating in the hits category. My entire team is filled with guys that just run around like wrecking balls. It is great. But other than that, I would have liked to see some more production out of Darnell Nurse, especially considering the amount of goal support the Oilers had in this one. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks versus the Oilers. I got to get back to my vacation mode because I do not want to be sitting around talking about hockey while I'm supposed to be enjoying my time with my relatives. So for now, thoughts in the comment section about the Canucks and the Oilers. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9 and bye.